The space station floated like a silent giant in the endless dark. Its silver walls reflected the cold light of nearby stars. Inside the main hall, aliens of many shapes and colors gathered. Some were tall with sharp eyes, some had scales that shimmered, some carried themselves with pride as if they ruled the galaxy. Among them stood one alien female from a powerful warrior race. She was taller than most humans. Her skin glowed faintly blue. Her eyes burned with pride. She was known for her arrogance and her sharp tongue. She believed her kind was born to lead, and every other race was born to obey. This alien had one favorite target on the station, a human. He was not a soldier, not a famous warrior. Just an ordinary man working with the station crew. He was quiet, simple, and never tried to show power. His calm nature made him easy to mock, and the alien loved to test him. She walked up to him that day, her footsteps echoing in the hall. The other aliens turned to watch. They knew what was coming. They knew she would try to humiliate the human again. It was a game she enjoyed, and the crowd enjoyed watching. "Human," she said, with a mocking smile, "why do you walk so soft? Are your legs too weak, or are you afraid the floor will break under you?" The human did not answer. He simply looked at her, then looked away. His silence only encouraged her. She leaned closer, her voice sharp. "Do you ever fight? Or do humans only talk? I heard your kind is fragile. I heard you bleed too easily." Some aliens laughed. The sound filled the hall like cruel music. The human stood still, his eyes calm, his body relaxed. He did not show anger, not even a frown. The alien stepped closer and poked his shoulder with one finger. "See? So soft, so weak, you cannot even stop me from touching you." The human's eyes moved to her hand. His face remained calm. His voice was low, but steady. "Do not mistake patience for weakness." For a moment, silence covered the hall. The alien blinked, then threw back her head and laughed. The crowd joined her. They thought the human was only pretending. They thought he was harmless. The alien circled him like a predator, her eyes never leaving his face. Patience, weakness. "You speak as if you have power. Show me then, human. Show me what you can do." Still, the man said nothing. He only watched her, his breathing calm, his hands resting by his side. To the aliens watching, it looked like fear. They believed he was frozen, unable to respond. The alien grinned. "See? Nothing. You are nothing but prey. My people hunt creatures stronger than you for sport. You should be honored that I even waste my time on you." But the human's calm expression did not change. His silence felt strange now. Some aliens in the crowd shifted uncomfortably. They began to wonder if he was truly afraid, or if he was waiting. The alien grew impatient. She shoved him lightly, not hard enough to injure, but enough to test him. "Fight me, human. Prove that your kind is more than weak flesh and empty words." The man raised his eyes. For the first time, his gaze met hers directly. His eyes were not fearful. They were sharp, steady, and filled with something dangerous. A chill ran through a few of the watchers. They had never seen a human look like that before. The alien forced a laugh, but her voice was tight now. "What is this look? Do you think you scare me? You are just a man from a small planet. My people have conquered worlds larger than your Earth." The human finally spoke again, his tone quiet, almost a whisper, yet every word reached the ears of those standing near. "Then you should have learned, do not push a human too far." The hall went silent again. The air felt heavy. The alien frowned, confused, for the first time. She wondered if she had gone too far. Still, her pride refused to let her back down. She stepped even closer until her face was only inches from his. "Then show me, human. Show me what happens when you are pushed too far." The man did not move. His body was still, his face calm. But there was something in his eyes that made the alien pause. The crowd leaned forward, waiting. The silence stretched like a rope ready to snap. And in that silence, a thought began to grow inside the alien's mind. Maybe, just maybe, this human was not as harmless as he seemed. Rising tension, the alien female stepped back for a moment, but her proud smile never faded. Her sharp eyes scanned the human as if searching for weakness. To her, humans were only small creatures useful for labor, amusing for jokes, but never dangerous. She believed the man standing in front of her was no different. Yet something about his silence made her uneasy. He had not raised his voice. He had not tried to defend himself. Still, those calm words, "Do not mistake patience for weakness," echoed in her head. The alien shook the thought away. She could not allow a human to disturb her confidence. She straightened her shoulders and spoke louder, making sure everyone could hear. "Look at him. He stands there like a statue. He dares to speak as if he is strong, but he will not even raise a hand." Laughter spread through the crowd again. Aliens of many species smirked and whispered to one another. Some tapped their claws on the floor. Some clicked their tongues in amusement. They enjoyed the scene. It was entertainment. A proud warrior humiliating a fragile human, but not everyone laughed. A few quiet watchers noticed the human's eyes. He was not broken. He was not scared. His stillness felt unnatural, as if he was waiting for the perfect moment. The alien ignored the unease and leaned closer. "Tell me, human, do you have no pride? Do you enjoy being weak, or are you too afraid to fight back?" The man did not flinch. His gaze was steady, his breathing slow. He looked at her as if measuring her every word, every movement. This made her more irritated. She wanted him to react, to tremble, to shout, anything that would prove she was right. Instead, the man's calmness only made her feel as if she were the one being judged. So she pushed harder. She jabbed her finger into his chest, sharp and mocking. "Your kind is nothing but prey. We rule, you obey. That is the natural order." A hush spread through the hall. The human finally moved, slowly raising his hand. But instead of striking, he simply brushed her hand away. His touch was light, but his eyes carried a quiet warning. The alien's pride flared. She snarled, "Do not touch me, human." Her voice echoed against the metal walls, but the man stayed calm. He lowered his hand and spoke softly. "Then stop touching me." The crowd stirred for the first time. The balance of power shifted slightly. Some aliens began to wonder, was the human really weak, or was he simply holding back? The alien could not stand the doubt in their eyes. She needed to show dominance. She needed to remind everyone that her race stood above all. So she escalated. She shoved him with her palm, harder this time. His body rocked back a step. But he did not fall. He straightened again, his face still calm, his eyes sharper than before. The alien tilted her head. Her grin widened. "Ah, so you can stand. Perhaps you are not made of glass after all." The crowd chuckled. But it was weaker. Now, less certain. The human's lips curved into the faintest smile, not of humor, but of something far more unsettling. "You are beginning to understand," he said quietly. The alien's grin faltered for half a second before she forced it back. "Understand what? That you humans think too highly of yourselves." The man shook his head slowly. "No, that you do not know what you are playing with." The crowd grew restless. Some leaned closer, eager for what would come next. The tension in the air thickened. Every second felt stretched, like a rope being pulled tighter and tighter. The alien's pride demanded one last test. She stepped even closer until her face nearly touched his. Her eyes glowed with arrogance. "Then prove it, human. Show me your strength, if you truly have any." Her words hung heavy in the silence. The man's eyes locked on hers, calm but unyielding. He did not move, yet the pressure around him felt heavier, as if an invisible weight was pressing down on the hall. For the first time, the alien felt her confidence shake. It was not fear not yet, but it was a strange unease crawling through her chest. She laughed harshly to hide it, turning to the crowd. "Do you see? He does nothing. He hides behind words because he cannot act." But her laugh did not echo the way she expected. The other aliens were no longer amused. Some were watching the human too closely, as if waiting for something, as if sensing something she could not. Her pride screamed that she must push further. She could not let her audience doubt her. So she raised her hand and pressed it firmly against the human's shoulder, her claws barely touching his skin. "I could crush you in a second," she whispered with a smile, "and you would not even fight back." The man's eyes lowered to her hand again. His calm voice carried through the silence. "Are you certain you want to find out?" Those words made the air colder. The alien froze for a heartbeat, her grin stiff. The human's tone had not changed, was still calm, still soft, but it carried something primal, something dangerous for the first time. She wondered if she had made a mistake. The crowd felt it too. They whispered, shifted, and stared. The hall no longer felt like a stage for her dominance. It felt like a cage that was slowly closing around her. The human had not lifted a hand in anger, yet the tension he created was more powerful than any shout or strike, and deep inside, even if she refused to admit it, the alien felt something she had never felt before in front of a human uncertainty. The challenge the hall was no longer filled with laughter. The earlier amusement had vanished, replaced with uneasy silence. Dozens of eyes followed every move. Every breath, every alien in the chamber could sense that something was shifting. The arrogant alien warrior felt it too, though she would never admit it. Her pride burned hotter than her doubt. She was known among her people as fearless, a fighter who bent others to her will. If she backed down now, in front of this crowd, her honor would shatter. She straightened her back and let her voice echo across the metal walls. "You all see it, do you not? This human hides behind silence. He whispers empty warnings. But he dares not fight. He fears me." A few weak laughs rose from the crowd. But they quickly died again. No one was fully convinced anymore. Something about the human's quiet strength. Gnawed at them, the human did not move. He stood, as he had before, calm, collected. His hands still at his sides, his eyes steady and sharp. The alien stepped closer until she stood right in front of him, her towering figure casting a shadow across his smaller frame. She leaned down, her voice dropping low. "Then let us end this game, human. I challenge you." A ripple moved through the crowd. Whispers filled the air. A challenge? Is she serious? Against a human? The alien's race valued public dominance. To challenge someone in front of others was not just a fight tight, was a test of honor. If the human refused, it would prove her superiority. If he accepted, she would humiliate him until nothing of his pride remained. She smirked, confident once more. "Fight me, here, now, in front of everyone. Show us if your species has any strength at all." All eyes turned to the human, waiting. A refusal would mean weakness, but acceptance could mean destruction. He was smaller, lighter, unarmed, against a warrior bred for combat. The silence stretched. Long, heavy, the alien expected hesitation. Perhaps begging, perhaps an excuse. Instead, the human lifted his head slowly and met her eyes, his voice calm, almost too quiet for such a challenge. "Are you certain?" The words froze her for a second. They were not the words of a man afraid. They sounded like a warning, as if the danger was not his, but hers. She laughed harshly to cover the small crack in her confidence. "Yes, human, I am certain. Unless..." You are afraid. Still, the man did not raise his voice, did not move in haste. His reply was steady. Fear is for those who do not understand what they face. You should be the one asking yourself that question. The hall grew colder. The crowd leaned forward, whispering louder. The challenge was no longer a joke. It had turned into something else, something heavier. The alien's pride screamed louder inside her chest. She could not step back now. She clenched her fists and spoke with force. Then it is decided. A duel of dominance. No weapons, no tricks. Only strength and will. Gasps ran through the crowd, even among her own kind. Some shifted uneasily. To duel was serious. To duel a human, something about it felt wrong now, but the alien only saw one thing: victory. She would crush him, prove her superiority, and silence this strange unease once and for all. She gestured. To the floor. Stand with me, human. Let us show them all the truth. The man finally moved. He stepped forward slowly, each step deliberate. His calmness unsettled the crowd even more. A duel should bring nerves, but his face remained unreadable. He stopped just a few feet away from her, his eyes still locked on hers. His voice carried across the hall like quiet thunder. Very well, you wished for this, then remember you chose it? The alien sneered. I chose it because I do not fear you. You are nothing but a fragile creature. She raised her hands in a ready stance, claws glinting faintly under the station's lights. The crowd pressed in closer, forming a loose circle. Whispers grew into tense silence, every alien waiting for the first strike. The human did not raise his fists, did not crouch into a stance. He simply stood tall, shoulders loose, hands still resting calmly. The alien frowned. Defend yourself, fool. Or I will end this before it begins. Still, the man did not move. His eyes did not waver. Instead, he spoke again. You believe strength is shown by forcing others to bend. But true strength is knowing when not to strike. Her lips curled in irritation. His words felt like riddles, like challenges she could not ignore. Then let us see if your wisdom saves you. She lunged forward, claws swiping toward his shoulder in a controlled strike meant to shame. Not kill. She wanted to mark him, to leave proof of his weakness. But in a flash, the man shifted faster than expected. His body leaned aside, her claws slicing through empty air. Before she could react, he had already stepped back into place, calm, steady, untouched. Gasps rose from the crowd. A few aliens blinked in disbelief. The alien snarled and attacked again. This time with more force. Her strikes came sharp and quick, but the human slipped past them with subtle movements. Each time he avoided her claws. His eyes never leaving hers, his calmness felt like a storm hidden under the surface. The aliens. Frustration grew. Her people fought with speed, strength, and intimidation. But this man's patience was harder to fight than any weapon. Stand still. She hissed, slashing again. Stop dodging and fight. But the human only whispered, his voice cutting through her rage. I am fighting. You just do not see it yet. The words hit her harder than a blow. Her strikes slowed for a fraction of a second. Doubt slid into her chest like a shadow. The crowd murmured louder now. Some even smiled faintly. Not at her, but at him. They saw the human was not the prey here. He was the predator waiting. Her pride pushed her into one final test. She stepped close again, forcing him back with her towering frame. She pressed her hand against his chest firmly. Her face inches from his. Enough games? Human, she whispered. Her voice low but strained. Show me who you really are, for the first time. The man's lips curved into something sharper than a smile that did not reach his eyes. His voice dropped into a whisper colder than space itself. Are you sure you want to see? The alien's breath caught for a moment. The crowd leaned in so close that the silence became painful. And in that moment, for the very first time, the arrogant alien felt a flicker of something she had never felt when facing a human before: fear. The bite the hall was silent, except for the slow rhythm of breathing. The arrogant alien warrior stood towering over the human, her hand pressed against his chest. Her claws hovered just enough to break skin if she wished. Around them, the crowd leaned in a living circle of anticipation. Every eye was fixed on the scene. Waiting, the alien smirked again, though her smile carried strain. So quiet, human, so still. Are you frozen? Or do you truly believe you can stand against me? The man did not answer right away. His calm gaze rested on her face. Steady and unshaken when he spoke. His voice was low, but the weight of it pressed into the ears of everyone present. You should have listened to the warning. The alien narrowed her eyes, confused. Warning? Do not mistake patience for weakness, he said, each word slow, sharp, and deliberate. The alien chuckled, though her laughter sounded brittle now. Weakness is all I see. A fragile creature pretending to be strong, she pressed harder against his chest, daring him to react, daring him to prove her wrong. The crowd stirred. Some whispered nervously. Some still expected him to crumble. Others were no longer certain. The human's eyes lowered briefly to her hand, then, without warning, he moved. It was not a strike, not a push, not even a punch. Instead, he leaned forward and sank his teeth into her wrist. The alien's cry ripped through the hall like a blade, sharp and full of shock. Her body jerked back. But his bite held firm, his jaw locked with primal strength. Far greater than anyone thought possible from a human. Gasps erupted around them. Aliens shouted. Some recoiled, some stepped forward in disbelief. None of them had expected this. A fight of claws and fists, yes, but not this raw. Primal act. The alien staggered, her pride shattering in a scream. Release me. But the human did not release her. His eyes burned with cold fire. His teeth pressed harder. The taste of her strange blood filled his mouth, but he did not flinch. He bit, not as prey defending itself, but as a predator claiming dominance. The hall was frozen. Every alien who had mocked humanity, every creature who had thought of humans as weak, now watched in stunned silence. At last, the man pulled back, his jaw unclenched, and he stepped away. Her skin bore the deep mark of his bite. The faint glow of her blood dripping down her arm. The alien staggered, staring at her wound. Her chest rose and fell in ragged breaths. Her sharp tongue could not form words. Her mind refused to accept what had just happened. The man wiped his mouth calmly, his voice steady, quiet, but carrying like thunder. You wanted proof, now you have it. The alien stumbled back another step, her arrogance cracking under the weight of shame. The crowd stared, their eyes no longer filled with laughter, but with awe and fear. One alien whispered, "He bit her." Like an animal, another replied, "No, not like an animal, like something far worse. Like a predator we do not understand." The arrogant warrior tried to speak, but her voice trembled. You dare." The human's gaze cut into her. "You provoked me. You tested me. You believed yourself untouchable. And now you have learned the truth." His words fell heavy, not shouted, not screamed. Yet they carried a weight stronger than any roar. The alien's hand shook as she touched the mark on her wrist. The pain was sharp, but it was not the wound that shook her, it was the meaning. In her culture, to be bitten was not only an injury, it was humiliation. It was submission forced upon her in the most primal way. She had challenged him, and in one shocking moment, he had reversed everything. The dominance she wanted to display now belonged to him. The other aliens shifted uneasily. Some lowered their eyes, unable to meet his gaze. Some backed away a step as if instinct warned them. The human stood tall, his chest steady, his breathing calm. He had not moved with fury. He had not lost control. His actions were deliberate, chosen, and that made it far more terrifying. He spoke again, his voice cutting through the whispers. Humans do not play at dominance. We end it. The words struck the alien harder than the bite. She realized with horror that he had not even fought her seriously. He had not needed claws, not weapons, not brute strength. One act, one moment, had destroyed her pride. Her knees weakened. Though she forced herself to stand, her people were watching. But their eyes no longer looked at her with admiration. They looked at the human. The silence of the hall was broken only by the quiet dripping of blood onto the floor. The alien finally tore her gaze from him and looked at her own kind, desperate for their support, but they did not cheer. They did not mock the human. Instead, they looked unsettled, even fearful. Her throat tightened for the first time in her life. She felt small. The human's calm voice came once more, final and absolute. Remember this moment. Remember what happens when you push a human too far. The alien staggered back another step. Her pride screamed at her to fight again, to prove she was still strong. But deep inside, she knew if she tried again, he would not stop at a bite. The challenge she had forced upon him was already over, and she had lost. The hall remained silent. The crowd's whispers had died. All that lingered was the heavy truth. Carved into their minds, humans were not weak. They were not prey. They were something else entirely, something dangerous, something primal. And for the first time in her proud life, the arrogant alien regretted every word, every insult, every word, every insult, every push. She had challenged a human and she had learned the hard way why that was a mistake. The alien's realization the hall no longer felt like a place of laughter. The echoes of mockery and taunts were gone. The air was heavy, filled with a strange silence that pressed against every chest. The arrogant alien warrior stood frozen. Her wrists still stung with pain where the human's teeth had sunk deep. She stared at the wound, glowing faintly from her blood. Her kind healed quickly. But this wound was different. It was not only flesh that was bitten. It was her pride, her honor, her certainty. She raised her eyes slowly. Her gaze met the human's. He stood calm, steady, his breathing even, his posture unshaken. His eyes locked on her with that same terrifying patience. She expected mockery in his gaze. She expected triumph. Instead, she saw something worse. He was not proud. He was not arrogant. He was simply sure. His calmness told her a truth she had never considered before. He had never doubted himself. Not for a moment. Her chest tightened. Her kind believed dominance was proven through strength, through loudness, through intimidation. But the human had shown dominance in silence, in stillness, in one decisive act. The crowd whispered softly. The words reached her ears like needles. He bit her. A human did that, not prey. Predator. Every whisper stabbed into her pride. For years, she had looked at humans as fragile creatures, soft-bodied, weak-minded, creatures meant for labor. Yet here she stood, shaken to her core, and the human had not even raised a fist. The memory of his bite flashed in her mind, the sudden, primal force of it, the sharp pain, the certainty behind it. He had not bitten her in panic, not in fear, but with cold decision. Like an alpha beast showing another that she had crossed a line. Her hands trembled slightly. She curled them into fists to hide the shake. But the weakness was already felt, not just by her, but by the crowd. She tried to speak, but her voice caught. She swallowed and tried again. You will regret that. The words felt hollow, weak. The crowd did not believe them, and deep down, neither did she. The human tilted his head slightly, his voice soft, almost gentle. yet cutting deeper than any blade. No, it is you who regrets. Already, her heart clenched at his words. Because they were true, she did regret it. She regretted mocking him, pressing him, forcing him into this corner for the first time. She understood the danger of human patience. It was not endless. Was a storm waiting? She took a step back without meaning to. Her people would see it as weakness. Her pride screamed at her to step forward again, to prove herself, but her body refused. Her instincts told her something her pride would not if she pushed him further. She would not survive the outcome. The silence of the hall grew heavier. The other aliens no longer looked at her as their champion. Their eyes had shifted. Some stared at the human with fear, others with respect. The whispers grew louder. He stood against her. Humans. They are not what we thought. Every word was a dagger. But the worst wound was inside her own mind. She could no longer believe her own lie. The human had not just resisted her. He had controlled the fight from the beginning. Every calm word, every steady look, every silence, it had been power. Real power. Her mind replayed the moment again. She remembered his warning. Do not mistake patience for weakness. She had laughed then. But now the truth of it shook her entire spirit. Humans were not weak. They were dangerous in a way she had never imagined. They did not need claws, or armor, or loud threats. They carried their dominance inside, hidden until provoked. And when that moment came, they struck without hesitation. She looked at him again. He still had not moved. He had bitten her, humiliated her, yet now he stood calm, as if nothing had happened. As if he was in control of himself, of her, of the entire room. It terrified her more than his bite. A creature who could show violence but remain this calm was not prey, it was apex. Her chest rose and fell in heavy breaths, her mouth dry. She wanted to scream, to strike, to fight again, but her instincts screamed louder. Do not. The hall shifted slowly. The power she once held slipped away. It no longer belonged to her. It belonged to the human. His presence filled the room stronger than any roar could. Some aliens lowered their eyes in respect. Some stepped back, unwilling to meet his gaze. One whispered words that would echo in her mind forever. If one human can do this, what would many do? The alien's pride cracked fully then. She realized the truth. Her challenge had not just been about her and the human. It had been about their species, about what they represented, and in this one duel she had proven that her race's arrogance was hollow and humanity's hidden strength was real. Her body shook with quiet shame. She clenched her teeth, but the tears of fury pressed at the edges of her eyes. She could not cry, not here, not now, but the regret consumed her, heavy and undeniable. The human finally spoke once more, his voice soft but final. Now you know. She dropped her gaze, her proud head lowered for the first time in her life. Before another, she hated it. She burned with shame. But she could not deny it. He had one. Not just over her body, but over her spirit. Earth throbbed with pain. But the real wound was deeper. A mark on her pride that no healing could erase. The hall remained silent. The other aliens would tell this story. They would remember the night the arrogant warrior challenged a human and was broken without fists, without weapons, only with patience. And a single bite, and she would carry the memory forever. A scar inside her soul, the moment she realized that humans were not weak, not prey, but something greater. She had challenged a human, and she regretted it instantly. Human superiority. The hall still trembled with silence. Every alien stood frozen in the circle, their eyes moving between the human and the proud warrior he had just humbled. The echoes of her cry still lingered in the air, but now it was not. Her voice that held the roomette was his presence. The alien female lowered her eyes, her hand clutching her bitten wrist. Her pride screamed at her to lift her head, to stand tall, to fight again, but she could not. The weight of his calm gaze pressed her down more than any physical strike ever could. The human stood steady, his chest rising slowly. His eyes moved across the crowd, meeting the gaze of each alien one by one. He did not glare, he did not shout. Yet each one felt the sharp edge of his quiet strength. Finally he spoke, his voice soft but firm, carrying clearly to every corner of the hall. You believe strength is only muscle, speed, claws, or weapons. You measure dominance by who shouts the loudest, who strikes the hardest, who bleeds the least. He paused, letting the words settle. The aliens shifted uneasily. None dared to interrupt. The man's eyes returned to the warrior before him. But you are wrong. The warrior flinched as if struck, her chest tightened. His voice did not carry anger, carried truth. And that truth burned her deeper than any wound. The human continued, strength is not loud. It is not always seen. True strength waits, watches, endures. And when the moment comes, it acts with precision. His words hung in the air like iron. The crowd felt the truth of them. They remembered how he had stood calmly, how he had warned her, how he had endured her mockery. And then, when the moment came, how one act had turned the battle completely. The human stepped closer to her, not aggressively, but with quiet certainty. She stepped back without meaning to. Her body betraying the fear her pride tried to hide. He spoke again, lower now, but heavy with meaning. You thought you could control me with words, with pushes, with pride, but you learned something tonight. Humans do not break. We do not bend to intimidation. We do not play games of dominance win. We are forced. We end them. The warrior's head lowered further. Her shoulders trembled. The wound on her wrist stung. But the deeper wound was the weight of his words. She had believed humans were fragile, but this truth revealed they were not fragile all. They were relentless, the crowd whispered. He is right. Patience. Yes, that is human strength. They endure until the end. The human turned his gaze to the circle of onlookers. His eyes calm, his tone steady. Your kind sees us as weak because our skin is softer, because our claws are smaller, because our voices are quieter, but you do not understand us. Humans are dangerous not because of what you see, but because of what you cannot see. The aliens leaned in, drawn to his words. His quiet authority pulled them closer than any roar of a warrior could, he continued. We are predators that learn to hide, to wait. To survive in worlds that try to kill us, we are fragile. Yes. But that fragility taught us endurance. It taught us to keep moving even when our bodies screamed to stop. It taught us to fight long after others would fall. The crowd felt the truth sink deep. They remembered stories of human explorers surviving. Impossible conditions of soldiers fighting against odds. Of settlers living on worlds where others could not. The human's eyes narrowed slightly. And when you push us too far, when you force us past patience, you will see the part of us. You cannot control the part that will bite, claw, fight, and never stop until the threat is ended. The warrior shuddered at his words because she had lived them. His bite still burned on her skin, and she knew he had spoken no exaggeration. The man straightened his shoulders. His presence filled the hall, calm but overwhelming. That is human strength, not loud, not proud, but unstoppable. A deep silence followed. No alien dared to laugh now. No one mocked. The hall felt heavy with truth. One alien from the crowd finally whispered what they all thought. They are more dangerous than they look, another muttered. They endure. Like no other, the warrior finally raised her head. Her eyes wide, her pride shattered. She looked at him, not with arrogance anymore, but with something she had never expected to feel toward a human. Respect mixed with fear. Her voice was weak, trembling. You Are not what I believed? The human's gaze met hers, steady and sharp. No, we are not. Her chest heaved with ragged breaths. She wanted to argue, to deny it, but she could not. His words, his bite. His presence, they had carved the truth. Into her spirit, the human's calm voice cut once more, final and absolute. So remember this. Tell your people. Tell every arrogant voice that calls us prey. Humans are patient, but never weak. Push us too far, and you will regret it. The warrior lowered her eyes again, not out of shame alone, but out of recognition. She could not stand against him any more not. In body, not in spirit, the hall's silence was broken only by the sound of alien breaths. Heavy, uneven, the truth was clear. Now human superiority was not about strength of flesh, but about the hidden fire inside. The human turned, stepping away. His calm movements echoed louder than any victory shout. Every alien's gaze followed him. No one dared to stop him. No one dared to mock him again. The warrior clutched her wounded wrist. Her pride shattered. Her spirit changed. She had believed she would humiliate him. Instead, she had become the lesson, the living proof of what humans truly were, and in her heart, heavy and bitter. She knew the truth. She had challenged a human, and she had lost not only the fight, but her arrogance, forever.